Hey everybody, NecroVMX here, and welcome back with another 10 matches from Pokemon Showdown to show you. I actually have quite a lot of matches, kind of a bit of a backlog, because I just was on a bit of a winning streak for a while, which is fantastic. But once you get on the higher on the ladder, it seems your teams get worse. Anyway, this first match is against Archer00. Let's play it. So he has a Doug Trio lead. It's a Alolan Doug Trio, and I start off with the annoying Wormadam. That's Trash Form Wormadam. He immediately leads off with Earthquake. It does less than half a health, so I get off the Stealth Rocks. I know I can survive another Earthquake, especially with the leftovers, unless they get like a really high damage roll, but I decided to swap into Rotombo anyway, because obviously it has Levitate, and now I have an advantageous spot. But then he goes into Drugalge, so I'm thinking, well, here comes a poison move, right? I got off the Hidden Power. I think that was Hidden Power Ice. So I'm like, well, I don't want to take the poison move, so I go back into Wormadam Trash Form. They use Sludge Wave, which is about what I figured, and that's not going to affect me. So far, some pretty good swaps. I revealed half their team. They've only seen two of mine. Here comes Blastoise. So I went for Gyro Ball, and obviously Blastoise is swapping into that. Blastoise is very bulky, takes that really well, and he's going to Mega Evolve because of course he is. So they're going to go ahead for a Rapid Spin, get rid of the Stealth Rocks. That makes sense. I went for Toxic, so not much damage on that turn, but it was pretty productive for me at least, because Toxic on Blastoise is huge. So they're going for Ice Beam, obviously hoping for Freeze, because Wormadam, resists Ice. I set up Stealth Rocks again. I figure, well, you can waste a turn using Rapid Spin again. I've decided to protect. He's either going to go for Rapid Spin, which he does, so because I protected against the Rapid Spin, it did not get rid of the Stealth Rock. So now they're going to go for Rapid Spin again. It's not a lot of damage, and the Toxic's starting to rack up. I went for Gyro Ball because I figured he might swap there. He didn't, but the Toxic is really racking up. He goes for Ice Beam again, definitely just hoping to freeze me. There's absolutely nothing this Blastoise can do to me. I set up Stealth Rocks again. I'm obviously just going to just let him die to Toxic there. Even if he had lived, I would have just used Protect. So you usually only get one Rapid Spin user. So in comes Salazzle. I know, well, there's probably a Fire Blast coming. I decided to just take it. Wormadam did his job, and I've won a clean swap into Salazzle because Salazzle is very fast and a very dangerous, really scary Pokemon. So I go into Jellicent, and he goes into Dragalge, which is also a Poison type, but it's going to take the Scald a lot better because it's not, it's not Fire type. So I swept over to Ice Beam, and they just live, but they get frozen, so I'm like, okay, that gives me a lot of breathing room. I was kind of worried about them, just living on that anyway. So I went ahead and used a Scald. I knew that would unfreeze him, but of course he dies because he had, no health, and they Rage Quit. Which is a real shame because they'd only lost 2 Pokemon. They still had 4 Pokemon, and I don't know, anything could have happened, but maybe they had a place to be, some place to go, people to kill, I don't know. So this next battle is versus a guy who apparently flopped his nutsack on the keyboard and hit enter when they asked him for a name. So I have a Cobalion lead, or maybe it's Cobalion. I always think of it as Cobalion. And they have Lunatone. They immediately think, bad matchup. They swap over to Rotom Wash. I had gone for Iron Head, so it's probably a good thing because that would have really hurt Lunatone and possibly flinched it. So I decided, I'm out of here. This is not a good matchup. I'm going to Volt Switch over to Scolipede. So Scolipede, he gets burned immediately by the Will-O-Wisp. That's okay. I mean, he's going to be very fast and be able to do some stuff. So it's a setup Scolipede anyway, so I don't care. So I get out a Toxic Spike, they get a Thunderbolt, so I'm like, okay, I get my speed boost, but, I'm not going to be able to take another Thunderbolt, but whatever, he did his job, just throw out the second Toxic Spike, unless they have a Rapid Spin user or a grounded Poison type. He pretty much did his job, and I go down to the second Thunderbolt, so I send in Lunala, so Lunala is, of course, very frightening. They go over to Noctowl. Of course, that's not grounded. I went for Calm Mind because I thought they would swap, so I'm pretty much a free Calm Mind there. I get the Psyshock off. It does a lot of damage to Noctowl. They went for Toxic. It's one of the most obvious things you can do to Lunala because it's just such it's a Pokemon with staying power. Go from the second Psyshock. We all know that crit mattered. He goes down. So Lunala is Toxic poisoned, and Lunala doesn't have a whole lot of hit points. It has a lot of bulk, but not a lot of hit points. They send in Dustox. Unfortunately, that's going to sweep up the Toxic Spikes, and then they double swap into Lunatone. I had gone for Psyshock. Lunatone takes that pretty well because it is Psychic type, so there you go. So now they're swapping again back into Dustox, and I'm kind of wondering, what are they doing? I'd gone for Moongeist Beam. It's going to do a lot of damage against Dustox. I need to start throwing out damage because, Lunala's stats are up. She's Toxic Poison. Just start throwing out damage. So I'm just going for Moongeist Beam again. That's going to get rid of the Dustox. So Bop Boop Beep, he's done. So Toxic, probably not going to survive the next round. So Noivern comes in. I'm like, okay, this is no problem. They outspeed me. They get the Draco Meteor, but I'm like, I was going to go down to Toxic anyway. They get the special attack drops. That's what's important. They're not really going to be able to do that again. I send in the Alolan form Raticate. They swap over to Rotom. Wash. This person swaps so much. Knock off bodies the Rotom Wash and gets rid of their leftovers. The second knockoff is going to take them out. Raticate is very fast. So, yeah. So Noivern comes back in. I had originally gone for knockoff against the Noivern anyway. They get the Hurricane off. It does a lot of damage, but I'm going to get off the knockoff. It also does a lot of damage. I'm going to get rid of that Life Orb, which is, really important. So I went for Sucker Punch because I figured, well, they're definitely going to try and take me out here, and I actually survive the Life Orb damage there. Here comes Lunatone. He gets knocked off. I'm going to go down to my Life Orb, but that Raticate, wow, he really did a great job. Really a great counter to a lot of this guy's team. So I send Cobalion back in, and their last Pokemon is Azumarill. So, okay, Azumarill, I figure this is Belly Drum. I decide to try to Iron Head flinch it. I get the flinch. Iron Head doesn't do a whole lot of damage because it is part water type. I go for another Iron Head. Takes them down to their Citrus Berry, so now it's very dangerous for them to go to Belly Drum. If they have it, they go for Superpower, which is fine. I survive it. Their attack and their defense goes down to 2/3, and then they forfeit it. They rage quit. So that's 2 rage quitters to start us off. At least this guy waited till he was, like he was sure he was going to lose, and not he might have lost. Might have lost. Listen to me. So this one's versus the King of Bears. That's right, you guys. On Pokemon Showdown, I meant the King of Bears. That's really interesting. So I have Arceus Fire lead here, and they have Girafarig. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. They immediately swap over to Torkoal, probably thinking, oh, well, here comes Judgment, right? Yeah, I did Judgment, but even though Judgment is so powerful, unless you double resist it, it's really going to do a lot of damage. It does less than half, but that's still quite a lot. I went for a Calm Mind because I think, what is this thing going to do to me? He's going to go for an Earth type, a Ground type move, but Arceus is really bulky, and now with my special defense up, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I go for the second Judgment. It takes him down to 7% of his health. He goes for a Yawn. That's fair. Probably should have done that right out the gate with a Torkoal, to be honest. So I'm going to swap. I swap into Marowak because I figure here comes another Earth Power. And Marowak's pretty bulky. Ground doesn't resist itself, but Marowak has good defenses. I went for the Bone Meringue. That's easily going to take Torkoal out. It probably would have taken him out at full health, to be honest. Marowak's got high attack. So the Sunlight is done. Here comes Dawn Wings Necrozma. I went for Bone Meringue again. It does really good damage. I'm wondering if this thing is going to Ultra Burst. It does, and it goes for Calm Mind, so I'm like, okay, it probably has like a recovering move, but Bone Meringue just does so much damage, I'm able to take it out there, so that was pretty much a waste of a Dawn Wings Necrozma. So Artillery comes in. I think, well, here comes Liquidation or Hydro Pump or something, so I'm going to swap into Sunflora. It was actually Scald, and I didn't get burned, which is good. They're swapping into Tapu Koko, obviously thinking, well, here comes a Grass-type move. And yeah, I went for Giga Drain. It does a lot to Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko doesn't actually resist Grass. They went for Brave Bird. That's why they swapped him. And Sunflora does not have defenses. It goes right down. I mean, it has special defense, but it does not have any physical defense. Tapu Koko takes a lot of recoil damage there. So I bring in Maul and went ahead and Mega Evolve there. They're U-turning out into Girafarig, which is really interesting. I had gone for Iron Head. It does a lot of damage, and that's really interesting because, Maul running Iron Head is a little weird, if you ask me, because Mowl's so slow. So Thunderbolt does less than half health. I got a free Swords Dance pretty much there because I figure there's probably nothing they can do to me. The second Thunderbolt's going to take me down in that danger zone, but the knockoff is absolutely going to destroy Girafarig, and with 2 times attack, I'm feeling pretty good, except I'm probably going to get outsped, and I got very little health. Out comes Tapu Koko, so here's what I'm going to do. Nothing. I'm going to take the Wild Charge. What can I possibly do? I didn't have Sucker Punch. It would have been great if, Maul really needs either Sucker Punch or some kind of priority move. So I sent Arceus back in. I sent God back in. Nature's Madness always does half the damage you take. Judgment's going to take out Tapu Koko. They sent in Diancie, so I'm like, okay, this is interesting. It's probably a Mega. It is. I go for Judgment. It is a Rock and Fairy type with, and it's really bulky, and now they're going to start with the Calm Mind, so I'm like, first Necrozma, then this. So I sent Marowak, and Marowak dealt really well with Necrozma. He's going to deal really well with Diancie. That Boomerang, you are weak to it. Unfortunately, they get off the Moonblast, and that's just going to body me because, like I said, Marowak, not super bulky in special defense. So I sent in Hitmontop. That's at least going to cut his attack, although it's obviously a special Diancie. They swap over to Octillery. There's so much swapping going on there. So I had gone for close combat. It does pretty well against Octillery, except now my defenses are way down, so I swap into my last Pokemon, which is Luminion, figuring they're going to Scald. It has Storm Drain, so they just raise my special attack, so that's pretty great. So I went for Toxic. Octillery is really annoying. They have Energy Ball. I'm like, oh crap, it takes off most of my health. So I really don't have the time to wear it down with Toxic. I decided to U-turn the hell out of there, right back into Hitmontop, and that's going to get the Intimidate off. They went for Energy Ball again. Obviously they did. Of course they did. Hitmontop was the best chance of taking it. I mean, Arceus could have taken it too, but he didn't have a whole lot of health. And then they would have just used Scald. So I went for Sucker Punch there to take him out. So that's done. So their last Pokemon is the Mega Diancie. It is weak to fighting. I was like, please take the Moonblast, please take the Moonblast, but he wasn't able to take the Moonblast. That's just a shame. So I sent Arceus in because I figure, well, I can get a Calm Mind up. They're going to try to hit me with something. It probably won't kill, or they'll go for Calm Mind. So they went for Calm Mind. I went for Grass Knot. It's super effective, but Diancie's not very heavy. Grass Knot does more damage the heavier the Pokemon is, and obviously Diancie's floating in the air, not a super heavy Pokemon. So they're able to take me out with the Psyshock there, but I got 2 Grass Knots off, so this thing's down to almost nothing. I sent in my Luminion. It is down to just this. They outspeed me, unfortunately. I didn't have any kind of priority move. Like, if I had Aqua Jet, it would have been done. So I lost that one. You can't stand against the King of Bears. So this next battle, I'm on the wrong side here. This next battle is versus Black Belt Forever. They have a Circuitry lead, and I have Goodra. So I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting. They went for Dazzling Gleam. That is super effective, but Goodra's just so bulky. I went for Sludge Bomb, and I get the poison off, which is great. Like I said, Goodra just has great defenses, and it can even tank those Fairy type hits pretty well, and those Ice type hits pretty well. It is a single type. So I went for Fire Blast. That's going to do a little more damage, and they're almost going down to Poison. They get off another Dazzling Gleam. They're obviously like, please crit, please crit, please crit. I decided to Dragon Tail in case they swapped. So in comes Articuno. So I'm like, okay, this is really interesting. Obviously it's going to use Ice Beam or Blizzard or something. I'm not going to be able to do anything. Goodra has like no hit points at that point anyway. Just let him go down. So I sent in Rapidash, and I'm expecting a swap. They went into Giratina Origin Form. I had gone for Flare Blitz anyway, and the reason I went for Flare Blitz is because nothing wants to swap into Flare Blitz unless it's something with like, Flash Fire or something, and then they Rage Quit, so I don't know quite what that was all about. I just wanted to show you that one. I don't usually show you really short ones like that, but I figured I'd show you that one because it's just funny. Why would you Rage Quit? It was dead even. You had a Giratina out. I don't know what that was all about. Maybe they had some place to be. I don't know. They didn't say anything in the chat. So this next battle is against Frost 4211. I've played against this guy a bunch of times now. He has a Marshadow lead, and I have an Alolan form, Ninetales. So we're rocking with the Gen 7 Pokemon out there. He immediately swaps over to Quagsire, probably figuring... I don't know what he was thinking with that. I actually set up the Aurora Veil there. I don't really know what he was going for with the Quagsire. So I went for Blizzard. It's neutral damage, and it always hits in the hail. It's probably my best option. It's about a 3-hit KO, with the leftovers and the hail going. So I'm like, okay, it can't miss. Blizzard has low accuracy, but it's in the hail. They went for Earthquake. Not with that Aurora Veil up, man. Sorry. So yeah, that's not going to do it. This was actually done during April Fool's Day, and he was complaining about the April Fool's Day sprites. I think it's great. Unfortunately, the replays don't show that. So he swapped into Dugtrio, who takes the Blizzard very badly, but they get off the Iron Head. Ninetales, is double weak to Steel. He goes down. So I probably should have figured that would happen. I probably should have swapped, but whatever. So I swap in Beedrill. Obviously, this is a Mega Beedrill, because why else would I be having a Beedrill? I went for Drill Run. That's easily going to take the Dugtrio out. It is going to drop my speed with the Tangly Hair ability, but Beedrill's really fast anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. So in comes Moltres. I'm like, okay, well, I'll get my speed back. I swap in Incineroar to get the Intimidate off, and also it has, really good resistances against fire. It's just really bulky. So he went for Toxic. That's like, wow, Toxic on a Moltres. That's really interesting. Let's get rid of whatever your item is. It was a Life Orb, so can you see that Fire Blast did only 9% damage to me? With the Life Orb, it's crazy. So in comes Stoutland, that's going to intimidate me. I send in Stack Attacka, because I figure here comes a ground type move. They actually went for Ice Fang, which is just as good. It pops my air balloon, but it does like no damage. I set up the Trick Room, because of course I did. I always think it's weird when people send out Stack Attack and don't use Trick Room. Marshadow is going to come into the Earthquake and take it pretty well. Marshadow is really dangerous, but of course I'm going to outspeed it with the Trick Room up, so I get off a second Earthquake. I know they're going to do close combat, but I'm like, what else can I do here to this thing? Marshadow is just super dangerous. It's so fast, but now that I have the Trick Room up, I send in Guzzlord, and Guzzlord's going to get off the Crunch. That's the only way you'll see that happen is in a Trick Room, and I get that Beast Boost. So there we have it. So he sends the Stoutland, and that's going to get rid of the attack boost that I had. I went for Crunch again. It takes it really well. Stoutland's just a physical wall. They're going for Ice Fang. Guzzlord is a physical wall too. So, I mean, we're both not doing a whole lot of damage to each other, but now that the Trick Room's gone, they're outspeeding me, so that's a little problematic. But I'm willing to let the Guzzlord go down if I can do a lot of damage to Stoutland. Stoutland is really dangerous, and I really don't have much for it. I decided to swap to Incineroar at the last second here to save it for later. Maybe I need it for something. Obviously, I'm going to take the Ice Fang really, really well here. So they went out to Moltres, so I'm like, okay, this is interesting. They're obviously expecting the Fire move. I'd actually gone for Fake Out, so that's going to flinch the Moltres, because of course it does. It would have flinched it if they had been able to go for a move. So they went for Hurricane, and I went for Knockoff. I really thought that was going to kill. I forgot that Moltres already lost its item, so oops. So the next Hurricane is going to take me down. I probably should have went for a stronger move there, like Wild Charge or something. So I send the Mega Beedrill back in just to do Poison Jab and take the Moltres down. Mega Beedrill is one of the fastest Pokemon out there. You're not going to outspeed it. Darkrai comes in, so I'm like, okay, let's see what item it has. Let's knock it off. Get rid of the Life Orb. I'm like, oh, that's excellent. They went for Dark Pulse. It does less than half health. I probably would have been really bad with that Life Orb. Drill Run does okay there. They go for another Dark Pulse. I know I can get in like either one more hit or I can swap. I really don't want to swap. Nothing wants to swap into this, so I just decided to get off Drill Run. They went for Focus Blast. He thought I would swap. He definitely thought I was going to swap. So then he goes back out to Quagsire. That's not going to take the Drill Run really well, and Quagsire goes down. So this Beedrill is really putting in a lot of work. Stoutland comes out to intimidate me, but at this point, it's like, what does it matter? He gets the Wild Charge off. Beedrill had like no health there anyway. So I send in Smeargle. Smeargle's my last Pokemon. What can this thing do, right? It can take a Wild Charge really, really badly, and then use Stealth Rocks, because I'm like, I really need to... those Stealth Rocks are important, though. You'll see why. So he gets the second Wild Charge off. That's going to take me down, and he goes down to his Life Orb, or rather to the recoil damage. Darkrai comes in and goes down to the Stealth Rocks. I told you the Stealth Rocks were important. My Guzzlord had like no health. He was probably going to get, outsped, but that really worked out for me, throwing out those Stealth Rocks. That was the only thing that Smeargle was good for in that battle. So here's another match against Frost, 42-11. I have a Gliscor lead, and he has a Mewtwo lead. Like, we both have super annoying, overpowered Pokemon. So I'm just like, all right, Protect. Let's see what he's going to do. He goes for Taunt. Taunt, of course, is not going to work. So I'm like, well, now I got my Toxic Orb going. He can go ahead and Taunt again, because I'm not going to go for Protect again. Now I can't go for Protect, but it doesn't matter because I got my Toxic Orb up. He Mega Evolves into Mega Mewtwo Y and went for Psy Strike. That's going to do a lot of damage. I went for Knockoff. It's not quite the damage I was looking for because he wasn't holding an item. So I thought he had an item because he didn't Mega Evolve on the first turn. So my Gliscor is obviously going to lose this matchup, even with Poison Heal. I needed that knockoff to do more damage, so I went for Protect here because the Taunt wore off, and I can just get a little bit of healing back with Toxic Heal, but this Mewtwo has Recover, so I'm like, oh, crap. So he goes for Shadow Ball, and that's easily going to take Gliscor down, so, I got to hand it to him. Taking down a Gliscor without, Ice-type or Water-type moves, very impressive. So I sent Stoutland, he swaps over to Conkeldurr, so... I had gone for Crunch. That would have easily bodied the Mewtwo. Conkeldurr takes it pretty well. It gets burned by its Flame Orb, so I'm thinking it's going to have like Facade or something. I swap over to Cobalion. He actually goes for Mach Punch, which is interesting. I thought it would be Facade. Not exactly what I expected. I always like when people mix it up a little bit like that. I got a Swords Dance off. He goes for Drain Punch. I'm like, shit. See, it didn't go the way I thought. I thought that he was going to go for Facade. I would resist that, get the free Swords Dance, and then I would be able to attack. So, Conkeldurr is just a really good Pokemon, and I wish you could have seen the April Fool's sprite of it. So I sent in Tapu Lele. He swaps back to the Mega Mewtwo. I got the Psyshock off. Mega Mewtwo is, of course, going to take that a lot better. He goes for Shadow Ball, so I'm like, crap, that does more than half damage. I get the Taunt off. I do not want this thing using Recover. If it uses Recover, I'm boned. Mega Mewtwo Y is ridiculous. So I swap over to Stoutland, cut its attack to 2/3. He goes for Shadow Ball. Of course, that's not going to work on Stoutland. It is a normal type, so I'm like, okay, we got something going. I finally get that crunch off on the Mewtwo, and he's done. So it took quite a lot, but I got rid of him. So Honchkrow comes out. I decide to go out to Lycanroc because I'm figuring, well, here comes like Brave Bird. I was right. Brave Bird comes out. It does about 1/3 of my health, but Lycanroc can take that without too much of a problem. They went for Sucker Punch. That does a lot more damage. But I went for Stone Edge. That's easily going to body Honchkrow. That's, that wasn't even a crit. That's just boom, done. So Conkeldurr comes back out. It goes for Mach Punch. I was hoping with the burn I would be able to take it, but obviously not. And he goes down. I mean, it is weak to fighting. What can you say? So I send out Tapu Lele. The Psychic Terrain comes up. And I go for Calm Mind because I figured there's not much he can actually do to me in one hit. He went for Knockoff, though. I'm like, shit. Damn it. That just sucks. So there goes the leftovers and my whole shit. So I'm playing like shit here. I'm doing really badly. I have Kyurem Black. I send Kyurem Black out. He goes for Mach Punch. That's not going to work on the Psychic Terrain. I went for Ice Beam. It does pretty good damage. So I'm like, okay, that we found the trick to finally get rid of this Conkeldurr. Unfortunately, he has 3 more Pokemon, and all I have is Kyurem Black and Stoutland. So I'm in a bit of a deficit here. So in comes Vanillux. I'm thinking, well, Ice is going to work, but let me just intimidate it. So I send out Stoutland. He went for Flash Cannon. So I'm like, that was really interesting. That was really smart, actually. I'm glad I swapped because that would have really hurt the Kyurem. So I went for Superpower here. It almost takes him out. I'm not super worried about what he can do. He has a hidden power, obviously hidden power fighting, but I'm outspeeding him. And I'm like, okay. So Stoutland is really going to be low on defense, but I can always hopefully swap back to Kyurem Black. Or, well, let's see what he has, is what I'm thinking. So, I mean, I think he was choice. So it's Rotom Fan, which I don't get to see Rotom Fan that often. It's just really cool to see him. So I'm like, okay, here's the chance. I swap back to Kyurem Black. He went for Will-O-Wisp. He missed. I was like, oh, thank fuck. Because I do not need to be burned. So he decides to Volt Switch. I'm like, okay, well, it didn't do any damage. We're going to finally find out what his last Pokemon is. It's Feraligatr. So I'm like, okay, well, obviously it's going to take the Ice Beam really well. And I'm wondering, what does this thing have? Does it have Ice Beam? Or, obviously it's only going to be neutral damage. So I just decided to use Outrage because it's just, going to do really well. It has Ice Punch. Like I said, it's only neutral damage. And Kyurem is very bulky, so no big deal. The second Outrage is going to take him out. So it's like, okay, it's going to come down to whether or not I can kill Rotom Fan, which I don't think is going to be a problem because even if Kyurem comes down, I can send Stoutland and cut his attack. He cuts my attack with the Will-O-Wisp, but I'm like, okay, let's see. So it still doesn't do that bad of a job. That was the last Outrage, and I get confused. But I'm thinking, honestly, at this point, I honestly think that, Outrage might actually be my best chance. I could try for Ice Beam. I did actually go for Ice Beam, but I thought I would go for Outrage. I went for Ice Beam. That's going to take him down, so that's going to be game. So there you go. And we decided to go for one more. Why am I on the wrong side again? So this is the last one against Frost 4211 here in a series of 3. He has a Ledian, and I have Reshiram. What a crazy start. So I'm like, okay, he's going to U-turn out, so let's just do anything, So Giratina comes in, and I'm like, okay, I had actually gone for Flame Charge, because even if it doesn't hit, I'm going to get that speed boost, even if it doesn't do any damage, which it really doesn't to Giratina, I'm going to get that speed boost, which is really important. So I go for Dragon Pulse, because now I have the speed boost up, I can outspeed him. He goes for Will-O-Wisp, I'm like, not a Dragon type move, I expected Draco Meteor or something, so I'm like, oh, really interesting. So I have a really great team here, by the way. I have Kricketune, And then I also have 5 more great Pokemon. I had 5 great Pokemon and Kricketune. So he swapped in Gardevoir to the Dragon Pulse, which is pretty smart. I send in Nihilego. So they went for Hyper Voice, which is about what I expected, Hyper Voice or Dazzling Gleam or Moonblast or something. He swaps over to Kecleon. So I'm thinking that's really interesting. I'd actually gone for Acid Spray. It's going to drop a special defense, which is awesome. So I'm like, okay, this is really interesting. Let's just set up Stealth Rocks because I really want to see what this thing has. It's Knockoff, which of course is going to be Stab with the Protean, but it's not a whole lot of damage. So there you go. Oops, sorry about that. So I had gone for, they went for Shadow Sneak there. It does okay damage. I'm starting to set up Toxic Spikes because I'm like, obviously this thing can only chip away at me. So let's just set up 2 layers of Toxic Spikes. They go for Stealth Rocks. I'm like, okay, we're just throwing things at each other. They go for another Shadow Sneak. It's just like waiting for the animation of the Protean going. I went for an Acid Spray. It's just a really interesting matchup here. They're getting a lot of health back from leftovers. I'm not really doing anything, but I'm like, okay, I'm out of setup. Let's use Power Gem. He lives. And then that Knockoff is easily going to take me down. But, okay. So it's a Dark type. I got a lot of setup. They got some setup. They got, like, almost no health back. I sent in Kricketune. Kricketune is definitely the weakest Pokemon on my team, but I think, well, let's set up some more. I set up Sticky Wag. He went for Stealth Rocks again. I think he was just trying to change his type to the Rock type there. So that, I think, because I asked him, I said, why did you do that? You can't double up on that. So I went for Knockoff. That's easily going to kill Kecleon. He did confirm that he was just going for a type change to the Rock type there. But when you have that little health, it didn't matter much. So Honchkrow comes out. It's immune to the webs and the spikes, so it's going to get off the Brave Bird, which I figured I'm going to let him do it because what the hell, he's going to lose a lot of health to the recoil. He gets a Moxie boost, though, so I send in Reshiram. So Reshiram has a really great ability, Turbo Blaze. It's kind of like, it pretty much is like, it ignores special abilities and stuff like that. So Gardevoir comes in, gets Toxic Poisoned, and Speed Drops. I'm going to use Blue Flare. The reason I use Blue Flare there is I figured if he swaps into anything that can't get Toxic Poisoned, I can probably burn it. There's a Mega Gardevoir, the Flame Charge. It's not going to be able to take that the second time. And I got another speed boost, so that's cool. So all that setup is really helping me. Giratina comes in, gets Toxic, Speed Drops, and loses some health. Gotta love that. It's exerting its pressure, but it's kind of like whatever. I went for Dragon Pulse. It's not going to be able to take that. The crit definitely did not matter. And Giratina goes down. So I'm pretty much doing really well here. Like I said, I had a great team. Ledian comes in. Oh my god, all the health from the Stealth Rocks. That is just great. Flame Charge is obviously going to take the Ledian down. My speed is now doubled, so this was supposed to be our last battle, but I said, this is kind of unfair. If you want to go again, let's do it, because this is a ridiculously good team that I have here. So Sarina comes in, just Flame Charge again. Like I said, even if it does no damage, I'm just bringing my speed up. I'm like, why didn't you send in Sarina earlier if you had Rapid Spin? Oh my god, like all that damage and Toxic. So I went for another Flame Charge. That does really good damage. My speed is now tripled. They went for High Jump Kick. It's not going to be enough, you guys. It's not going to be enough. Reshiram's a beast. They go down to the Toxic. Their last Pokemon is the Honchkrow. I'm not super worried about it. He went for Sucker Punch. It does okay damage, but Blue Flare is absolutely going to body the Honchkrow in that game. So I have one more. Oh, do I have one more? Oh, I guess he couldn't stick around, or maybe I didn't save that last one. But anyway, this is versus BS Tram or Bastram or whatever. They have a Lycanroc lead. I have Whimsicott, so I'm like, I can't do much. I just decide to throw out the Stun Spore. Fire Fang does more than half my health. I swap into Basculin because I think he's definitely going to want to use Fire Fang again. Basculin takes that really well. He swaps into Zygarde. I'm thinking that is really interesting because Liquidation, it's going to take him down to almost nothing. He went for Extreme Speed there. His ability didn't proc, so he didn't get any health back. The Liquidation's going to take him down. Mean Show comes out. Liquidation, you're done, Bob Boopy. Bastiodon comes in. Liquidation, it takes it really badly. That gets rid of the balloon. Oh my god, he misses the rock blast. Liquidation. Bastiodon goes down. Holy crap. In comes Lapras. Can't do liquidation of Lapras. I send in Shedinja because I'm thinking here comes the Ice Beam. Obviously, Wonder God's going to protect me. In comes Darmanitan. I got a Swords Dance up. He does the U-turn. I'm like, why would you U-turn? Oh my god. So I had swapped into using Baton Pass. I went over to Deoxys, which is I'm like, what happened? What is going on here? I got to slow this down a little. So let's back that up a little just to show what happened. So, the Darmanitan, I went for Swords Dance. This is just crazy. I didn't understand this. He went for U-turn. I'm like, why would you have fire type moves? You're Darmanitan. You could have taken me down to my Sash. So I had gone out to Baton Passed over to Deoxys, and he takes the extreme speed, unfortunately, and gets a U-turn off. U-turn is very effective, and Deoxys has like no defense, unless it's Deoxys defense form, which it's not. So it actually turned out well that he did that, even though I think it was a bizarre move. So Lycanroc comes in, liquidation, it goes down. This Basculin is just putting in work. Darmanitan comes out. I'm like, liquidation, it goes down. Oh my god, this is amazing. It's not quite a sweep because I know I can't take out the Lapras with Basculin, but it's almost a Basculin sweep. So I send in Shedinja because I know there's absolutely nothing that Lapras can do to Shedinja. I can't even call that a rage quit. That was just an acknowledgement of you have a Shedinja and my last Pokemon cannot hurt it. Because in case you don't know Shedinja's ability, Wonder Guard, it only has one hit point. And basically you almost always have a Focus Sash, which means you can take one hit, which will take you down your Sash, and then the next hit will kill you. So the thing is, damaging moves will not affect Shedinja unless they're super effective. So since it's a Ghost and Bug type, it can be affected by Fire, Rock, Flying, Ghost, and Dark. Anything else can't hurt it, although you could use Toxic to kill it, It's a really crazy Pokemon with a really weird gimmick, but it can wall out teams if you know what you're doing with it. So this next battle's versus Darkrius. I have a Bastiodon lead, and they have a Cresselia lead, so that's really interesting. So they decide to immediately hide behind their Substitute. So many people love Substitute. Unfortunately, I had gone for Toxic, so that's obviously going to be a wasted turn. They're going to get a little health back. I'm going to get a little annoyed here, and they got a Calm Mind off. So I'm like, oh boy, here we go with this shit. So I went for Rock Blast, even though it's not really, it didn't do enough damage, even hitting twice. I don't have Skill Link. So I'm like, oh crap, they got off another Calm Mind. I really need to break the sub. So I do another Rock Blast. 1, 2, 3 hits. And the sub is still up. Like, what the hell? I know your special defense is up, but holy crap. So they get off an Ice Beam. That's going to pop my balloon, but not really do anything else. So it seems like we can't really do much to each other. I decided, roar, get out of here, get off my screen. So in comes Steelix, it Mega Evolves. I'm like, okay, this I can deal with. I went for Rock Blast anyway, because I thought they might swap. But they didn't. So this is like no damage. They went for Earthquake, because of course they did. And Bastiodon's going to go down. So he didn't really get to do much. I sent in Sharpedo. Sharpedo is just a beast here. I went for Waterfall, figuring maybe I can get a little Flinch Hacks here. I don't get the Flinch Hacks, and they get a Toxic off, which was an interesting choice, but probably smart. I get that Speed Boost off. Oh, Sharpedo's already really fast. I'd go for Waterfall again. It doesn't get the flinch, and they're going to Dragon Tail me out of there. Pretty much, it resets the Toxic, but also wastes the Speed Boost. So I have Gengar here. I'm going to Mega Evolve immediately and go for Shadow Ball, and that's going to take out the Steelix. Gengar is really fast, so that works out really well. So Guzzlord comes out. I'm like, okay, we're swapping. I swapped over to Gogoat. I figured they're going to go for Earthquake because it's an obvious thing to do against Gengar, and Gogoat is going to take that really well. I went for the Bulk Up. That's going to raise my attack and my defense. Unfortunately, it has Fire Blast, but I take it, so I'm like, I have to do something now. So I went for Horn Leech. It's not very effective, and I'm like, well, maybe it'll miss Fire Blast. Unfortunately, they don't miss Fire Blast, so I don't really have a whole lot to take down this Guzzlord right now. So I send Sharpedo back in. He's my best bet. He's in low health, and he's poisoned. But I do get off the Ice Beam. It's not quite enough. I'm like, I'm going to go down here, but at least at least I damaged it. At least I got some damage off. It's unfortunate that he was already damaged when the Guzzlord came out. So I sent Gengar back in, figuring, well, I have Focus Blast. He's low on health, and I can outspeed him. That thankfully is able to take the Guzzlord down, and I didn't miss with the Focus Miss. So Swellow comes in and goes for Protect. Obviously trying to scout out what I would do to a Swellow. It's Sludge Wave, because I figure, well, let's see. And then it gets burned by the Life Orb, so I'm like, oh, well, is it going to use Facade? It can't use Facade. So they decide to U-turn out of there, and they go to Cresselia. So I guess they were just scouting out my moves. Cresselia is going to take the Sludge Wave, better than Swellow would have anyway, and I don't get the Poison, which is a shame, but whatever. So I went for Shadow Ball. It does really good. Cresselia is down to almost no health, gets the Psyshock off. I'm down to almost no health. But hey, I outspeed it. I went for another Sludge Wave. I went for that instead of Shadow Ball in case he had like a normal type to swap into or something. Or if he swapped into Swellow, which is normal. It's normal flying. So Swellow's going to come in and U-turn again. I think he was hoping to take me out. He swaps into Ambipom. Obviously, he was hoping that I would use Shadow Ball, but I would never do that against the normal type. And this is another normal type. Focus Miss actually hits. Ambipom goes down. Gengar's had 1% health for a while, and he's just doing work. Swellow comes in. I'm like, well, here comes U-turn. Might as well let it happen, right? U-turn, blah, blah, blah. I go down. So I'm like, I'm going to find out what his last Pokemon is. It's Shaman Sky Form. So I'm like, okay, I have Victini. So I'm like, this is obvious what I'm going to do here. So he's starting to air slash me. He gets the flinch. I'm like, oh my god, if he just flinch hacks me to death, I'm going to be so salty. He air slashes again. And then I miss with Blue Flare. Oh my god, he didn't get the flinch and I miss with Blue Flare. So I'm like, oh, crap. So he air slashes me again. I hit with Blue Flare. That's going to take the Shaman down. I'm like, oh, thank fuck. Thank fuck. So the last Pokemon is the Swellow. I have Victini. I have one other Pokemon. They're going to use Facade. Obviously, it's going to just body Victini. I'm worried about this Facade having, almost a Toxic Herb. The burned Swellow. So I brought in Zekrom because he has Volt Switch. It doesn't do it, you guys. And then he goes down to the burn. So his own Flame Orb was his undoing, and I just managed to squeak out a win because that next Facade, that was going to take Zekrom down. So, yeah, there you go. Of course, it wouldn't have done as much damage without the Flame Orb. So, there's that. So this is the last one. This is versus Brandy Davies. I have a Ho-Oh lead, which is like, oh, yes. They have Reuniclus. I hope I'm saying that right. I went for Sacred Fire. Sacred Fire is almost always a good move because it has a 50% chance of burning, and they're going for Calm Mind. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I went for Earthquake just because I thought, well, maybe they might swap or something, even though they went for Calm Mind, because they're burned. They went for Psyshock. Then they finally swapped. They swapped into Altaria. So Altaria is going to take the Sacred Fire. I don't get the burn, unfortunately, but I'm like, what is Altaria going to do? This is really interesting. It's probably a Mega, and it is a Mega. But what is it actually going to do? So I get off the second Sacred Fire. Of course, now it's actually resisted, but I get the burn. So they're going for Dragon Dance. So I'm like, okay. Ho-Oh has burned two of their Pokemon and done a lot of damage. But they're just going to Roost, and Burn doesn't rack up like Toxic does. So I'm going to use Roost. So we're going to see who's going to last longer here, Ho-Oh is just great. I'm just like, if they have like something that can use like a rock type move, I'm in trouble. So Sacred Fire is actually my best bet, even though it's not doing a lot of damage because Altaria is, it's Dragon type. So, and now I think it's Dragon Fairy in its Mega, so I'm just going to start spamming Sacred Fire, and they're spamming Dragon Dance. So I'm like, well, they can Roost their health back, but I'm going to swap over. I'm going to swap over to Clawitzer, because I knew they were going to use Roost on that turn, so I'm like, here comes a clean swap. We're going to swap over to Clawitzer. So they went for Return. It's not going to do the damage they're looking for. I have Ice Beam. Ice Beam does do the damage I'm looking for. The unfortunate thing is, here's the thing. They're going to outspeed me. But they're totally going to go for Roost, right? So I figured I'd get a clean spot. They didn't go for Roost. They went for Return. They were looking for the kill. So I'm like, oh my god. So I had swapped into Gorgeist. Shadow Sneak's going to take down the Altaria. They really should have roosted there. So that was a grave error. And now they're probably their best Pokemon's down. So in comes Noctowl. Noctowl is not to be, diminished in any way. You can't underestimate it. It gets the Hurricane off. That's going to take down Gorgeist. I sent in Clawitzer. That crit mattered. I probably could have taken a Hurricane. I was hoping to get an Ice Beam off on this Noctowl. Noctowl is kind of scary sometimes. So I sent in Drifblim to burn it because this thing is doing a lot of damage. He goes for Hurricane. Wow, can you imagine what kind of damage that would have done to Drifblim had it not been for the burn? So Acrobatics is my best bet. It doesn't do a lot, but takes me down to my Citrus Berry. So I'm like, this is going to be a long road. Every Pokemon they have is taking me forever to kill. So I get an Acrobatics Critical, which does an insane amount of damage. That's going to take Knockdown down. They swap over Volbeat. I'm like, did you not just see me use Acrobatics? They thought better of it and double swapped into Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen doesn't even take the Acrobatics that well, to be honest. I'm just like, all right, I'll do it again. That's going to take you down to 21% health. They start setting up Toxic Spikes. I'm like, okay. I know that they really can't send out Volbeat now at this point. The Reuniclus doesn't have much health. They send in Mismagius. This thing is like the bane of my existence. But I have Shadow Ball, so that's at least going to do a lot of damage. And I actually get the special defense drop. They use their own Shadow Ball. Obviously, Drifblim's going to go down to that. But I'm like, okay, actually, I might be able to get around this Mismagius. So I send the Mungus. He's going to take. He's going to pick up the Toxic Spike. He went for Will-O-Wisp there, which kind of sucks because now that Foul Play probably would have killed, or maybe almost killed at least, if not for that burn. So that kind of sucks. So he swaps over to Reuniclus. I'm like, did you not just see me use Foul Play? But I had gone for Sludge Bomb anyway, but it's like, what a weird swap. So it survives the Sludge Bomb. They went for Psyshock. Now I understand why they swapped it in, but you're just like lucky I didn't go for a second Foul Play, or boom, So I sent in Ho-Oh. Sacred Fire is easily going to take the Reuniclus down. I'm not really worried about anybody else at this point. Mismagius comes in. I'm like, yeah, okay, you probably have something. You have Thunderbolt. That's super effective, but Sacred Fire at this point is well within killing distance, so that's going to go down. Their last Pokemon is Volbeat. It's a bug type. I'm flying and fire. I don't even know why they're going behind the substitute. Like, what is even the point? What is the plan there? I guess they maybe wanted to see if they can outspeed me. I don't know what this thing could possibly have. And like, oh my god, are we really doing this? Are we really doing the whole thing we hide behind the sub? I ran out of Sacred Fires, you guys, so I have to swap now because Earthquake is not good enough. My last Pokemon is Granbull. This is so stupid. So now they get a Thunder Wave, and I'm like, I can't even with this Volbeat. Are you kidding me? It's not going to be able to do anything to Granbull. Granbull is Fairy type. It's weak to Poison and Steel. You're not going to have Poison or Steel. They decided to just quit there. They just said, it wasn't even a rage quit. They said good game and forfeited. So I think they realized they're just stalling, and at this point, that's silly. I think they wanted to see, like, once I ran out of Sacred Fires, I'm like, oh my god, I didn't have a flying type move to use. He just kept using Substitute. So that's going to be the video, you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you soon with more.